Sugar is everywhere, and so are the health consequences related to it. Today, I'll be talking with Natalie Nicole, the founder of Dalsa. We'll be talking about whether we can rethink sweetness itself without wrecking metabolism. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Finding Freedom. I'm your host, John Odermatt, here on the Lions of Liberty podcast network. Great to have you with me today, whether you're watching on YouTube or Rumble or listening on your favorite podcast app. We appreciate you giving your time and tuning in. And I have a great interview to share with you today, and I'll introduce my guest in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to remind you guys about Fox and Sons coffee. It's the coffee that I start every single morning with. It is delicious. It's fresh. It doesn't have any of the mold toxins in it that you get on a lot of the grocery store coffee that you pick up. You can order Fox and Sons either in a ground or whole bean and get it delivered directly to your door. All sorts of different beans to choose from. Just go to their website, foxandsons.com. That's FOXNSONS.com. And you can get 15% off an order of $40 or more by using promo code JOHN, that's JOHN, at checkout. Okay, let's get into today's show with my guest, Natalie Nicole. She is the founder and creator of Dulsa. This is a really interesting new sweetener product that is designed to support better metabolic health, which I've done some recent podcasts talking about metabolic health. So very timely. We'll be diving into the problems around sugar, the limits and some of the issues with artificial sweeteners, and what it takes to build a mission-driven product in this broken food system marketplace that we have. So, Natalie, welcome to Finding Freedom.
Absolute pleasure to be here with you today, John. And by the sounds of that coffee, I think I'm going to have to get some of that because I always have a cup here with me. I've got my Dalsa in there, but I'm really interested in trying that one. So
Awesome. Well, it's great coffee, and it's like yourself, you're an entrepreneur. It's a fellow freedom loving entrepreneur who runs Fox and Son. So it's good stuff. But
happy
uh,
to support.
so I wanted to get into first a little bit of your background because I think it's very interesting. Of course, we're going to get to talking about Dalsa and where that idea came from and the passion behind it. But I heard that you have an interesting backstory that involves Ron Paul and G. Edward Griffin, two people very near and dear to my heart. So I'll just let you kind of take it away and intro yourself and talk about those influences in your life.
Yeah, sure. So I got introduced to powerful voices like that really early on in my life, but it really kind of started for me because of my awakening when it came to the medical system and how broken it was and how corrupted that system was. Um, but through growing up and being, introduced to these voices by, people in my friend circle, when I discovered Ron Paul, I was just like, this whole other world just unveiled itself to me,
Mhm.
seeing Aaron Russo's documentary, America, Freedom to Fascism. And I was like, okay, that sealed the deal. Like now I know I need to fully wake up to this whole system also. But really, like I said, the medical system is what truly red pilled me early in my life. Like think back to elementary school, very, very young, just due to family illness, and seeing how broken that system was. And there were no answers, there were no solutions. It was just heavy medication, significant side effects, and there's no hope of a positive outcome. And luckily, I had a family member, my aunt, who was suffering with that disease state. She broke away from the medical system,
Mm.
and we journey of natural healing, using food as medicine. So that's really what got the ball rolling for me. But like I said, once you get that first domino to fall, it's like one thing just presents itself after the other. So that was really the kickoff.
Yeah, it is interesting. That's the case for me as well. I mean, once you kind of things break open and you realize things are not quite what they seem, things kind of can snowball from there. For me, it started with Ron Paul, G. Edward Griffin looking at the money's, the money supply of the Federal Reserve. And now, I'm kind of fully into, health and looking at how, these major corporations, of course, with help from the FDA and the government have fooled um, and pharmaceutical companies, of course, have fooled, so many Americans into, being dependent on these, ultra processed foods that are bad for us. And then, of course, the solution they give you is a pharmaceutical, is something that oftentimes can lead to other symptoms, other illnesses, and things of that nature. But
They create the problem, they give you a solution that, wow, you'll never get off of that hamster wheel. So, it's very important for people to recognize that once you cut that cord, you can stop the assaults and you can actually get some resolution to the problems that you are dealing
Mhm.
with. It normally just comes down to lifestyle adjustments, mindset adjustments, and just, getting yourself centered again and just kind of remembering that God put us here and provided us with all the solutions, and man can't work around that. So we've got to get back to our center, to our nature, and work on those issues ourselves.
Amen to that. So your background is interesting in that you're not a scientist, you don't have a medical background. You're a former professional bodybuilder. You have a background in the trades, in pipe fitting and welding. So how did you navigate from there to where you are today?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting, windy road, and I thank God for all the interactions that I've had in my life. But again, really a curious mind,
Hmm.
um, and a belief system that anything is possible. I mean, I was raised to believe that you could do anything if you set your mind to it. So I just made it a point to be a student of life always. I never think I have it all figured out. I'm always seeking truth. And I pay attention when voices are being stifled because there's normally something really important buried there. So I've learned from some amazing people and I put those things into application. And when my career path has been so colorful, but I've always been studying again, food is medicine, natural ways of healing, strong mindset. And I just keep on coming into contact with people who allow me to take it to the next level. And now I'm working with some of the most brilliant minds in the health and freedom space. And it's a blessing. But to go from pipe fitting to welding to becoming a business owner was a really huge step, an entrepreneur. But my husband really helped me to um, gain the confidence to step out there and put it all on the line and risk it. And when I had my wellness center, I noticed that people kept on asking me for help with their lifestyle and their
Mm.
diet. So I was always trying to make, food items, pastries, things that were low carb, low sugar, high protein, organic. And I wanted it to be enjoyable for them because if you can't enjoy what you're consuming, you're not going to stick to a healthy plan. So I started dabbling in the food space like that. And then with my bodybuilding career, I was really heavily involved in supplements, but I didn't like the way the supplement industry was poised. Everything was synthetic, everything was harmful, everything was laced with colors and caffeine and
Mhm.
I started looking at working with groups to bring supplements forward that were actually beneficial. Um, and then in that, what I recognized is like, I'm tired of taking countless supplements. I know everybody else is burnt out on it. So I started thinking about how could I take all of these beneficial therapeutic plants and botanical extracts and weave them into a delivery system that was commonplace, something that wouldn't have to require you to start something new in your routine. Every day I start a cup of coffee. So let me find a way to get all of those nutrients into what I'm putting into my coffee, into what I'm putting in my baked goods, into my smoothies. So I created a therapeutic beneficial agent wrapped in the body of a sweetener. but a sweetener that wouldn't cause harm to your metabolism, to your immune system, wasn't going to cause any kind of inflammatory response. So it was just rethinking what supplementation and nutraceuticals look like and putting them into a functional food space. So
Mhm.
I created my own lane because I love food and most people love sweets, and I really like to focus on nutrition. So, I just whipped it all together in my kitchen, started testing it out, and again, the feedback has been amazing, the research has been amazing, so here we stand.
So I'm curious, as an entrepreneur, so you have this idea, you're making stuff in your kitchen, you have an idea, what you want, it's working for you, this product that you've created. How difficult was it? What kind of roadblocks did you run into as you're trying to take this product to market?
Yeah, it's a big endeavor to take something from your idea in your kitchen to actually bring it to scale, to manufacturing, to ingredient sourcing, to,
Mhm.
you know, production, um, you know, delivery, 3PLs, things of this nature. So it's been a learning curve. Luckily, I have, again, like I said, an amazing group of people surrounding me who kind of help to lay out the path, look at this, go this direction. But really, it's a lot of trial and error. So, the first thing was securing your ingredients, making sure that you have clean, verified, organic, natural products that are not
Mhm.
adulterated. That was the first really important thing to get locked in. But then also, too, understanding that you can't buy ingredients in like small quantities and actually get to a point where you can actually mass produce these things.
Mhm.
So, really expensive because I have 9 different ingredients in my product. They're all there for a purpose. They all have their own reasons for being there, even though they work synergistically. But 9 ingredients, and when you figure you're having to buy a certain amount of bulk raw ingredient before you can even deal with these suppliers. So it's not very easy for a small mom and pop operation like my husband and I have because it's us to
Mhm.
take actually scale that. It takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of, legwork and creativity to get that going. But then also too, making sure your manufacturer can keep up and can grow with you. A lot of these groups just have really high thresholds that you have to meet. So finding people who are pretty much on the same path as you, like mission wise. There are a lot of really great people in this world. And when it comes to manufacturing, sometimes you need to find somebody who's willing to work with you and allow you to grow in a way that's meaningful. So we've been really blessed to find those connections. But again, it's like I've been over the years building my relationships with all these amazing truth tellers, healers, and we're all working together now to bring this forward. So it's been a really colorful journey.
Really interesting. I know I talked it was probably a couple years ago now with the founder of Masa Chips. Back then it was just tortilla chips, and now he also it's a whole line now. It just started with just one bag of tortilla chips, but it was crazy hearing from him the different regulatory hurdles and the reasons why really no one had tried
Mhm.
to make a chip this way, fried in animal fats because it was a
Yeah.
whole. Basically the regulations were built so you couldn't do it.
Yes.
So they were having to
It
do it, basically batch orders and
Yep.
just wild. But
Which is time consuming, and it's
Mhm.
very so again, it's very expensive for us to bring something like this to market, but as you grow and as you get bigger, that's when you can do everything in larger volumes and quantities, and that's you see that trajectory. You see a product come out, it's at a highest price point, and then as the company grows, you're able to get those price points down
Mhm.
because you're able to buy more product, your more ingredients, and your production scale goes up. So all of these things work in tandem. So yeah, it's very difficult to get from point A to point B.
So tell us about Dalsa. What is in it? What was what's the idea behind it? You talked about, getting good nutrition. Just
Yeah.
tell us all about Dalsa.
Yeah. So like I said, Dalsa is something that really needs to be looked at outside of the lens of just being a sugar alternative because it's so much more than that. the delivery system is a sweetener base because it's something that a lot of people will utilize. But the premise of it is to focus on the gut health. So when
Mm.
looking, I wanted to make sure that we were incorporating things like prebiotics and also probiotics and postbiotics. Okay. So, because everybody is dealing with the ramifications of the overspraying of pesticides, the glyphosate, the soil being denatured. So, our guts are leaking, which is leading to all these other inflammatory issues. So, I was like, let's start by addressing the gut health issue. So, the prebiotics are there to support the mucosa layer of the gut, help to heal that up, but also to feed the good microbes that are in your system. So helping the mucosa to heal, but then also to providing the food source and making sure that we're suffocating out the negative bacteria and helping the good bacteria to proliferate. And then we want to also incorporate probiotics in there because we want to make sure that there are other supporting characters in the gut. But the reason why I selected the ingredients that I did is the probiotics are a spore-forming probiotic, which means they weren't going to get killed off by your stomach acid. And unfortunately, a lot of people get hoodwinked because when you buy probiotics from the store, a lot of those, they're going to get killed off by your stomach
Mhm.
acid. First and foremost. A lot of them also require refrigeration. So fine and good. You think you're doing better because you buy something from the refrigerated section. But then guess what? Once it hits the heat of your body, your stomach
Yeah.
acid, same things are going to happen. So spores are really great because they're protected. They're heat protected. You can cook with them, all of that, but they have really great clinical data supporting them for people who are dealing with inflammatory conditions like IBS, IBD, Crohn's, colitis. So we want to make sure again there's a lot of support for the gut because all health starts with the gut. Your immune system lives there. So gut was so important to us when we were putting this together. Along with that, the sweeteners. A lot of people will try to gravitate towards a natural sweetener versus an artificial sweetener, but where do you turn to? The ones that I selected, organic monk fruit and organic allulose, were there because these things have the mongrosides. They also behave like a natural GLP-1, not that terrible poison that comes with a black box warning where people think their health, their eyesight, all of these horrible things. So, but your body naturally produces GLP-1, but this is there to support and help your body to do it more efficiently. So, those two sweeteners are great for people who are dealing with blood sugar issues. Okay. They're very, very safe ones for you to use, but they also help to stabilize the blood glucose. So, very important to have things like that in there. For flavor, a lot of companies you'll see something like natural flavor on the back of a label. That's a red flag right there. You kind of want to avoid the natural flavors because it could really be anything. So for flavor, what I did is I incorporated vanilla. I wanted a natural vanilla in there, excuse me, to help with flavor profile. But also, vanilla is amazing because it's an antioxidant and it's also a debitterizer. So
Mm.
even add coffee, which you don't, it would actually help your coffee to be a little more enjoyable because it helps to knock down the bitters. And then we move into things like the fulvic minerals. I don't know how deep you go into fulvic minerals, but very important. They're nutrient delivery systems. They help with cellular hydration, also cellular detoxification. And we live in a very, very toxic world. So fulvic minerals, there for your nutrients, there for your support. So there's a lot of really important things to take in with those right there. But yeah, everything is there for a reason, but they all work synergistically together. So metabolic support, blood glucose support, detoxification, but also nutrient uptake. But it just happens to taste like vanilla birthday cake. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love the idea of, a healthy something that you can add to water, or you can add to
yeah,
coffee, or you can add to a smoothie, a shake, whatever, that it not only does it make it taste better, but it gives you the nutrients you need to support gut health, to help with detox. That is right up my alley. I love that.
yeah, we're all really busy. Okay, we all have a lot going on. Nobody has the time to try to manage an entire cabinet worth of supplements, and also too, it gets really expensive. So,
Mhm.
I'm all about making things more efficient, finding better delivery systems, and healthier ways to do it. So, Again, you can go and buy a prebiotic, a probiotic, a fulvic mineral, and something to help, stabilize your blood sugar. Well, those are, several supplements that you have to take. And then guess what? And then you want to find your sugar replacement too, or your flavor enhancer. So why not just take a powder that fits into all those different areas of your life, and you can knock out all those supplements, and again, to
Mhm.
be know, pills after pill after pill is just exhausting.
And you said that you can cook with this, right?
Yes. Yeah, you can cook with it, but, people need to realize there is a little scooper inside of the bag. I've had a couple people miss the fact that there's a scooper in there, so they just take a teaspoon and dig into the bag. This is highly concentrated, so a quarter of a teaspoon is as sweet as a teaspoon of sugar. So if you do a teaspoon of this, you're getting like 4 teaspoons of sugar. So
Mhm.
please find the scooper in the bag, start with 1 scoop. I have plenty of people who just use half of a scoop because they don't go overly sweet on things and they're like, this is more than enough for me. So, but when I have people ask me, why isn't a 1 for 1 or could you make it a 1 for 1? The answer is yes, I could, but that would also require me to put fillers into the product to make up that extra bulk, and that's just something I'm not willing to do. I want the product to stay pure. So a quarter of the amount is what you would use of Dulsa.
Yeah, I think people are smart enough to be able to make that adjustment on their own, or they can
I
just
hope.
ask ChatGPT or,
Ask
whatever they
chat.
need
It's
to do.
really deep.
So let's talk a little bit about, sugar and artificial sweeteners and some of the issues with that. I mean, we definitely have a metabolic health crisis in this country. We have the pharmaceutical companies trying to come in to correct it with their synthetic GLP-1s.
Yeah,
How can Dalsa help to, um, you know, remedy that
great.
problem?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's so important that people recognize that sugar is probably one of the worst drug epidemics that we're dealing with. It's just that it's cloaked. It's so hidden from you because this is a slow poison. So it's not like you take a teaspoon of sugar and you see the fallout, whereas you take a street drug and you see the impacts right away. But when I talk to addiction specialists, they say it is probably worse coming off of sugar than it is some of these other things. And because it is so impactful, it sets off the same receptors in your brain as cocaine and heroin. So the effects of it are significant, and nobody should minimize that or make fun of people who are actually struggling, to break free from sugar because it is a real concern. But what's so devastating about sugar is it shuts down your immune system. And when you look at you know, children in particular, it hits them so much faster and so much more incredibly, it's so damaging to them. 45 minutes after consuming a donut or a cereal or something like that, these kids, their immune system just shut right down. And then you send them off to the germ factories, the public
Mhm.
schools, these other things. So whatever it is that they're encountering, the EMF, all of these other things, their immune system's just being beat right down. So they don't even have a fighting chance right there. So immune system damage is really important to understand about sugar. And again, we all take sugar from our, you know, ketchup to our, our chips, our processed foods. Everything has sugar in it. You have a glass of juice thinking you're doing better than not having soda. Guess what? You're probably having more sugar in that glass of juice. It's like just eat the piece of fruit. Get over drinking your soda as in your juices. That's just terrible. But hormonal disruption is another problem. Men, I mean, I know that there's been such an uptick in men using things like Viagra, for
Mhm.
instance. You know, sugar shuts down your body's ability to create nitric oxide, which is incredibly important for
Oh,
blood
yeah.
flow. Okay. So if you have shut down your body's nitric oxide, and your blood flow is suffering. And by the way, sugar also knocks down testosterone and amplifies estrogen. You have a perfect storm there for, hey, pharmaceutical companies are going to put you on Viagra, they're going to put you on hormone replacement therapy. So again, these systems that work together, big food, big agra, big pharma, they have all created the problems and now they're going to feed you the solution, but then you get stuck on that hamster wheel. So men suffer with it. Children, non alcoholic fatty liver disease. What child is sitting there with a bottle of vodka drinking. So if kids aren't drinking alcohol, but they're presenting with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, sugar is a toxin. It poisons your liver. Same damage as alcohol. In women, same thing hormonally, PCOS, anxiety, depression, anger, rage. Look at what's happening with our school kids, you know, these rage systems that they're faced with. I mean, they're hurting people, they're hurting themselves. So all of these things really stem to what we're putting in our bodies. So sugar, find a way to reduce it. Be careful about the artificial sweeteners because most of those are chemical cocktails that cause just as much harm, if not worse.
Hmm.
We've had advocates fighting for us in this space since the 70s, trying to warn about these artificial sweeteners. And guess what? They got abused. They got, you know, kicked out of their positions of influence. They weren't allowed to share that messaging with you. So, you know, the landscape is pretty peppered with ugly solutions. That's why I wanted to bring something forward that was actually a viable solution that wasn't just a sweetener, but also uh, something to help with the health aspect of all this.
Yeah, and we've talked about aspartame on this show, and its known carcinogenic attributes. We've talked about sucralose. And sucralose is a really tricky one. They named it sucralose, so it sounds like sucrose, but
Yeah.
that stuff is just a bomb on your gut. Speaking of the importance of gut health and probiotics, you start having these protein bars or protein shakes,
Yep.
and it's always the last ingredient because sucralose is so sweet. They only have to put a little bit in, but if
Just
you're drinking that stuff every single day or multiple times a day in many different drinks or protein bars, that adds up. And there's studies coming out now that show that it's not good for you.
Yeah, you know what? It can actually be worse than sugar, and I'm sure, again, I'm sure you've seen some of these studies, but if not, Cell Metabolism 2020, they published findings that when teenagers in particular, because they studied different age groups, when teenagers consumed sucralose in conjunction with fast-acting carbohydrates, and think about what teenagers eat: pizza, chips, like quick
Mhm.
eat, they're all carb laden. When they consume like these energy drinks or diet drinks with the sucralose in them, within days they were developing insulin resistance. Within days, they actually shut that study down. Within it was less than a week, they shut that study down. The study was supposed to run for 2 weeks. So that information was never made public. It was never mainstream. If you look at independent journals, you'll find it. But this wasn't something that was presented to parents. So parents have no clue that when your child is drinking one of these energy drinks with sucralose in it, and then they go and have like some pizza or chips or something, that they're actually spiking this and they're developing insulin resistance. So, and again, you look at our population, how sick, how metabolically ill we are. What, 70% of our population is dealing with some form of metabolic or chronic illness? It's unacceptable.
Yeah, it definitely is. And the other crazy thing with sucralose is like there's still a lot of doctors out there that are recommending sucralose products for their diabetic patients. And like you
Yeah.
just said, it's bleeding
Association.
insulin. Yeah.
Yeah, American Diabetes Association, that is their poster child. Sucralose, Splenda. You'll see that little emblem on everything, and they're so proud to have it in there. But again, this is actually causing significant health problems for people. And, everybody's looking for a solution. And again, they don't know where to turn because everything that's presented seems to be worse than the other. So that's why I say, when you have products like this coming to market, and I support and endorse all companies that are trying to find better answers and solutions for people, but look at the individual ingredients on the package. You know, these are all coming from plants, but they all have data behind them showing
Mhm.
how they are. And again, nothing's being suppressed there just yet. So you have a couple of countries that are pushing out some of these ingredients, and you have to say, why are they stalling and slow walking this? And it's typically because, again, the sugar lobby is funding those other groups.
Yeah. So have you seen pushback trying to get your product to marketplace?
We haven't just yet. Again, we're not big enough to ruffle the feathers of the giants just yet. We're growing and we're getting in that direction. But what you're seeing is there are some regulatory hurdles to jump through because we're actually in negotiations and working towards getting global approval with our sale of our product. And we have a couple of groups overseas, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, India, who are looking to bring the Dalsa on board. So we're just learning about those hurdles and those challenges right now. But some of the European countries, they have some of these ingredients listed as novel food items. Even though they're not novel, we have over 400 published studies showing their safety and their efficacy, but they are literally tying it up in bureaucracy and slowing it down.
Hmm. So, if people wanted to buy Dulsa today, is this something that is it available just online? Is it in stores now, or?
Yeah, so it is the easiest place to get it is going to be obviously directly through our website, dulsalife.com. But then we also work with several doctors and practitioners. So, I always send people to like our trusted partners, Dr. Judy Mikovits, attorney Tom Renz, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. All those people are available for it. It's available now in the Carl Felt Center, several chiropractors' offices. And then we also have Real Food Knowledge down in Florida. So it's growing outward. We're in communications with a couple of distribution lines for natural grocers. So we're
Mhm.
pretty excited about that. We're looking at about 2,000 grocery stores bringing Dulsa on board. So again, we're going through that growth process right now. So yeah, definitely online is the best way to get it.
So, who is Dulsa for? I mean, you might have somebody listening out there today who's wondering about their kid. Is it something that they could incorporate? You might have someone who's in their 60s or 70s who's looking to supplement their health. Who when you think of the product, who are you thinking of tailoring it to?
Literally, I made this product for everyone because, again, we all live on the same planet. We're all faced with the same challenges. Okay. So we all need to support these systems of health so that it wasn't like this is better for one group versus the other. This is for anyone that wants to avoid sugar, artificial sweeteners, and make sure that they're incorporating things to support their wellness journey. Okay, so kids love this. They love the flavor of it. I have a customer who tells me that their son, 8 years old, sneaks into the kitchen and grabs a spoon and goes into the bag and eats it straight out of the bag. Okay, because he says it tastes like marshmallows. So he eats that straight out of the bag. It's definitely not the way it's made to be eaten or enjoyed. But for my people who do have blood sugar issues, it's definitely a great alternative and substitute versus the artificial sweeteners or sugars. So, I mean, it's a product for everyone. It fits into every place of your life. But yeah, it's definitely it was made with consideration for people who have challenges to their health.
Okay. Just a couple general rapid fire questions for you around the food industry and things like that. So, in your opinion, your experience, over the years with dealing with the food industry, what do you think is the biggest lie or one of the biggest lies that the food industry tells consumers?
Fat is bad for you and sugar is good for you. I it's amazing to me what they have done. So, yeah, I mean, fat is my friend. I have butter in my coffee, heavy cream. I eat meat every day. Again, like they have really taken everything that's great about our food and they have demonized it. Now it's you should eat crickets, you should have lab printed meat, and drink as much soda as you want. It's the complete inversion. So, yeah, eat some fat, avoid sugar, get some sunshine, and move your body.
Hmm. Yeah, and I liked what you said earlier, that you have to have a diet that you're able to enjoy. I mean, I think I'm paraphrasing what you said, but what are your thoughts on these sort of like elimination style diets, like
Uh,
keto or carnivore and things like that?
yeah, so everything has a place, okay? Again, if I was faced with a health challenge, I would be calling up Dr. Baker, Carnivore Diet, okay? Or I would be calling up some of my friends, Nick Norwitz or Dave Feldman in the keto space, because therapeutic ketogenic diets are there to resolve a lot of these challenges that people haven't been able to get
Mhm.
any help for. Severe inflammatory bowel disease, IBS, Crohn's, colitis, but also when you look at things on the mental health spectrum. I talked to Dr. Baker, I talked to these researchers in the keto space, in the carnivore space. They're resolving schizophrenia, ADHD, multiple sclerosis. The whole thing that got my mission started was my aunt's battle with multiple sclerosis.
Mm.
I had no clue that we could have incorporated the carnivore diet to resolve her multiple sclerosis. These are real solutions. So eliminations diets are great because you're taking away all the other possible offenders. Okay. So when you strip it down to the most basic, what's going to get you from point A to point B fastest, do it. And then you can slowly start to incorporate those other things back into your life in a controlled manner. Or if you find that you're one of those people who can't, don't go back to the poison system. Work with what works for your body. But man, the resources that are out there, I make it a point. I go to a new scientific conference almost every month and I'm always learning. But when I have conversations with these people and when I incorporate these things into my own life, I see real changes. So,
Mhm. No, that's great, and I think that's a good what you said last there. I think is very important. When you make a dietary change or a supplemental change, or when you incorporate Dalsa into your routine, you should expect to see a change in your life,
yeah.
right? And I think that's a good way to tell if what you are using or the change you made is actually working. I think a lot of people kind of just take supplements to, I'm just going to take all this stuff. And then they don't actually think about, well, how did I feel before? How do I feel after? Did it actually, is it working? I mean,
Yeah, but there's also room for honest evaluation also.
mhm,
Are you doing it the way that it is supposed to be done? A lot of us just go through the motions and don't really take the time to dig in and do it wholeheartedly. So I encourage people to not cut themselves short. Really make sure that you understand what you're going to be doing and make sure you're doing it with 100% commitment. So and remember, if you've gotten sick, you've gotten to a point in your life where you're dealing with all of these issues, it took time to get there. It is going to take time to back that damage out when you're on this healing journey. So don't be too quick to jump ship. But if you're not seeing measurable results, get some help. Talk to somebody who knows and can help guide and steer you. We all need a coach in life. We all do. None of
mhm.
us get to our own. So don't be afraid to reach out and get some help and support from people either.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I'm glad you followed up with that. I definitely wasn't saying you should expect quick fixes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're not gonna all the mistakes that you made with your diet and health and not moving your body, you're not gonna fix that in 30 days, no matter really what you do.
Well,
So
although
last,
these
oh,
30-day
sorry.
fast, 30-day fast might change that for you, or at least several fasting. You'd be amazed at what that can do, just eliminating food completely.
Yeah, I have seen some absolutely crazy stuff with that. So last question here. So what is one habit that you think people should change immediately? Maybe other than adding Dulsa to their routine. One other habit that they should change.
What I would say is sunlight. Remember, hospitals used to have sun decks for a reason.
Mm,
I would set a goal too. First thing in the morning, as the sun is coming up, get outside, give yourself 10 minutes of exposure to sunlight. Sunlight is a trigger for healing. You need the light in order to support anything else that you're doing. Get outside, 10 minutes of sunlight. I'm not telling you to stare directly at the sun. I'm asking you to get outside, take off your glasses because they have a UV coating on them. If you have contact lenses, don't put them on. Go outside, 10 minutes, let those sunlight, even if it's hazy, just let that light come into your eyes, come into on your skin, and then go in and start your day. That is number one thing. It's the first thing in the morning, so get that done first.
and that is something that I am not good at doing. So I will I will take that advice and try it out. So
Yeah.
last question for you. Can you please give my audience plugs where they can learn more about you? Once again, where they can purchase Dalsa and anything else that you're working on or excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my website is dulsalife.com. That's DULSALIFE.com. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those horrible social medias, you'll find us at Dalsa Life. And then some really exciting things that we're working on is, I'm in communications with some White House health advisors. We are working with several doctors, researchers, scientists, and we're really making a collaborative effort to get this out into the mainstream, but also incorporated into food manufacturing, beverage manufacturing, so that we can make sure that when we're buying you know, finished goods, they have better ingredients in them. So, God bless RFK for trying to attack the processed food industry and just the food industry as a whole. But yeah, we are working really hard to try to make more impactful solutions available to people. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to us. Our contact page on our email on our website is available there. You can get me directly. You're going to either get myself or my husband. We answer everyone. So please reach out to us. We're happy to talk to you.
All right, Natalie, thanks so much for coming on Finding Freedom.
Absolute pleasure to be with you. God bless. Have a beautiful day and be well. Get outside.
You as well. I'll try that. I'll try that tomorrow morning. Bye. All right, guys, that is a wrap of my interview with Natalie Nicole, founder of Dalsa. Please go check it out. I know I will be buying some myself. And yeah, like we've talked about, I feel like she hit on so many things that I've talked about in maybe the last 3 out of the last 10 episodes. Metabolic health, why is everyone sick all the time? These synthetic GLP-1s, gut health. It's stuff I talk about all the time. So this was an awesome episode for me. I learned a lot. Hopefully you did too. If you like this show and if you like everything we do here on Lions of Liberty, please consider supporting the show, becoming a patron, going to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or finding us on Locals. You can support us there as well, where you get bonus content and other goodies from us here at Lions of Liberty. So, yeah, with that said, I'll see you all next week with another awesome guest. In the meantime, always remember to keep your head up and the fires of liberty burning.